Hello and welcome to the Get Better in Chelmsford podcast with your hosts Richard Brinkley and myself, Tasha Katz. This is the podcast where we talk all about the no-nonsense side of marketing, where we champion Chelmsford-based businesses and entrepreneurs who are testing, learning and growing, and where we discover that the journey is often more exciting than the destination.
Well, Lorraine, thank you very much for coming in. Welcome to the Get Better in Chelmsford podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
You are Hylands House, and I'm keen to understand all the nuances of that. As I kind of know it as sort of driving past and the odd fleeting visit, but there's obviously so much more to it. There's lots of things going on, which we can get to. Mm-hmm. As we usually do, though, and this can be, you can answer this in many guises. It can be either about Hylands House or just your personal experiences, but what does marketing mean for you? What is it?
So I'm going to say what marketing is kind of in my commercial capacity, being Hylands House manager. And that is that it's essential as an events venue. For us, we're always looking at getting new clients in for our business, weddings, conferences, meetings, filming. But it's also building our brand reputation. So making sure we get back those clients and making sure we're basically here for many years to come.
And how, in a day-to-day capacity, do you do that? What kinds of activities are you doing from press and media? I mean, you mentioned a minute ago you're a dab hand at this podcasting because you've been on the radio. So, what kind of things is within your role? Because obviously you're not just marketing.
Yes, yeah.
What things are you doing to promote Hylands House that work and don't work, maybe?
Well, we're always willing to try new things. I think that's really important when it comes to marketing. And, sometimes you don't always get it right. So it's, being brave, trying new things. We're very lucky because we do work sort of with a marketing team as well, because we're owned by Chelmsford City Council. So obviously they support us. But we do marketing in all different sort of guises, like obviously online, like social media is huge for us. So we use those platforms a lot. Obviously your website is probably your sales window for sort of like promoting yourselves. And it's just making sure that we've got that right. Word of mouth is also huge for us as well. So again, it's getting those messages right. So when people do start talking about you, they also know exactly what you've got to offer. And
how has that maybe changed? Obviously, you mentioned sort of social media, which is, I mean, we'll say relatively new. It's getting, it's more of a traditional channel than it ever used to be, I guess. How has things like that changed? Obviously, word of mouth has always been kind of word of mouth. I say always been there. I mean, the Hylands House is, I don't actually know how old it is, but it's been there a while.
It's been there a long time.
Right? So
1730.
1730. Yeah. So okay. So it's existed for a fair amount of time. I mean, what's been the sort of biggest change, I guess, over the last few years in how you go about marketing?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the industry for quite a long time, in the events industry, and I remember sort of back in the day that we just did so much print, like everything was in magazines, basically. There was maybe a bit of web, but it was mainly print. Now we still do a tiny bit of print, but it is pretty much like online. We think like some markets, they do still have like a magazine, and that's important, especially like sort of with weddings. I think people like to pick up a magazine and a brochure, also something they can take home to their families. But at the end of the day, everyone is searching online, like everyone is like Googling, and even now looking on the AI websites as well. And we've actually started to get inquiries because people are saying, how did you hear of us? We've had someone saying, I asked Chat GPT and it came up with Hylands, which is great. So I think that's like the next thing coming. So yeah, not going to the website, but using a AI platform.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in itself is quite incredible. I think that's the first time I've heard that, certainly on this podcast, that so you've actually attributed a lead to ChatGPT.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think that gives us a kind of sign of the times, and I think it's a really interesting sort of thing when you kind of go, well, we've got a house and a business that's kind of existed since 1730s in some capacity, but yeah, it's being found by really modern technologies. So
yes,
I guess that probably speaks the diversity of maybe Hylands House and how it's evolved over the years. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about some of those products that you're marketing and how you get people to the house.
I mean, obviously, I don't know if you know, but we do a bit of everything. Obviously, you have the wedding side of the business. We used to just be able to accommodate 80 people in the house, and now we can do up to 300 in the pavilion. So we've always sort of been there, I guess, for the wedding market. But now we do a lot of multicultural weddings. So we do a lot of Asian weddings, African, Caribbean weddings, which is amazing. So obviously you have that market, and then you've got the local sort of business market. But also we have our big public events as well. So you've got like sort of the whole sort of Chelmsford community and further that are coming to all our, I don't know, like theatre events, big events in the park, like All About Dogs, National Flower Show. So, of course, you've got that market as well. So it is very widespread who we're actually marketing to.
And does that perhaps represent one of the biggest challenges then, is that diversity? Because when you talk about, say, business markets, consumer, the local community and perhaps wider, but given that it's a relatively famous location, certainly locally, but I guess outside of Essex as well, it's something you might come across, and I imagine you market to people outside the county as well.
Yeah,
so is that the biggest challenge, or is there something else?
Yeah, I mean, we make sure we do our research. So, we speak to experts kind of in those industries as well, and sort of make sure that like our teams are properly trained, say like in the different cultures, etc., and finding out also from like even our caterers. So we have like an accredited suppliers list, and those caterers really know their clients in their industry. So we speak to them, we say, where are you advertising? What exhibitions are you going to, etc. So it's speaking to those people that really know, because we can't possibly be an expert in like all those fields. So that's when we work with them really.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point to highlight. That actually, again, we don't know the answers, and I think it's a really interesting point that you can get that intelligence and that research. Because most people would go out and say, well, I'll go to market, I'll ask the community what they want, or I'll go to there and ask the people what they want. But again, using your suppliers and people and experts and things seems like a really quite smart way to do that. Do you think there are some levels of competitive advantage from doing that? Do you think is that something that's just done in your industry, or do you think that's kind of somewhat unique to you guys?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, in the venues that I've worked before, we've tried to build up like a really good, close relationship with our suppliers, because also they're marketing you as well. You're on their websites, they're talking about you with clients. But I like to think other venues maybe do it as well. But we definitely, I think we're good at doing it.
I think it's quite interesting, your role, isn't it? So where you are, you've talked about marketing in multiple different spaces, online, in person, print. Okay, it's not so much these days. But then also, like you said, marketing via your suppliers, and how are they getting the word of mouth out there? How are they presenting to their clients, which ultimately are also your end clients? How does that tie in with, if we look at the public events, for example, that you host, how does something like that get put together? How many people, how many different teams are involved in, and is that, what kind of difficulties or issues might arise out of that, trying to bring that all together and that unified experience that comes with being visiting Hylands House?
So a lot of the events we have on site, they are kind of third-party events as well. So some of them we do ourselves, like the Children's Theatre. That's kind of a show that we would go to a theatre company and produce. So we market that, we sell the tickets, etc. So again, you can look at sort of maybe what has sold well in the past. A lot of the other shows we have, like the All About Dogs, National Flower Show, the new sort of country music festival we've got coming, they're third-party providers. So what they would have done is actually applied to us to host their own event in our park. But we have to look closely at what other events we have, the time of the year, is there anything else going on in like the Chelmsford area as well, just to make sure it doesn't clash anything. But we also look at their marketing plans as well. So we want to make sure that their event is success, because even though it's a third party, they are producing an event on our site. So you have to make sure, they've got a really good event management plan, where they're going to do their marketing, is it online, ticket price, etc. So we make sure that they've got their marketing plan as well before we accept them to come on site.
I mean, it extends to that customer experience, doesn't it? Because ultimately, like you say, whilst it is a third party organising things, often what sticks is, oh, we went to Hylands House for this event, or we went to Hylands House to see this exhibition, and that's often it's a place that kind of sticks. And so, like you say, you've got to ensure that seamless experience is carried over,
because they are quite often, they don't know it's a third party running the event. They will think it's us. So quite often we do get a lot of the phone calls as well. So we need to make sure that they've got the proper network or sort of in place to actually answer the calls and etc. as well.
What reasons would you say no to an event?
Yeah. If it clashes with something else, so say for example, if we've had like a long running event that we know works really well, we've worked with that company, we know it's a success. If something else comes along that is very similar, then we would probably say no. We also have to think about the park as well, like the 600 beautiful acres of parkland, and we don't want to mess it up for the day-to-day visitors. So whatever actually happens, we need to make sure that the park is then restored so that it's really nice for the visitor coming back as just the general member of public. So if we had something like, a massive, truck festival, that wants to do sort of various stunts, etc., and we know that the ground might not recover for several months, then we can't take that on. So and we have had inquiries like that before. So we tend to say no.
So it's I feel like I'm getting slightly overwhelmed just sort of hearing about it all, because it sounds rather complex, like the size of the estate. I mean, I probably, like so many others, just know it. Oh, it's just Hylands House. It's just that little building over there. But I guess it's not. From what you're describing, there's so much more to it. So who are you as a person? Because how do you deal with all of that, and how do you make sure that all runs through? Because it sounds like
there's
chaos.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
I obviously have a really good team behind me that work with sort of, I've got the experts obviously for sales, operations, etc. So I look after the commercial events sort of in the house and the park, and also the stables as well. So just to throw another element into it, we have 14 artists on site as well in our old stables that did used to house horses, and there's a cafe and a bookshop. So that's all for the visiting public. And then we also have a separate parks team as well, who we work really closely with, and they manage the whole grounds, luckily. So they manage the 600 acres of parkland because, believe it or not, there's a whole team working every day, come rain or shine, just making sure the park looks great for visitors. So I obviously have help from them and from my team. So and we have quite a lot of casual staff as well that we work with. So we have about 14 casual staff that help run all our events as well. So it's quite a big team.
And kind of ensuring that there's that cohesion across all teams, because like you said, there's so many different people handling so many different aspects of the park and the house and the grounds. How easy is it to kind of keep everybody on the same page? Because ultimately the goal is, to keep Hylands House as this, it's a beautiful heritage site. It's got this prestige that comes with it. I think it's very much a local source of pride as well for lots of people in Chelmsford. I think even outside of Chelmsford, lots of people will recognise it. I mean, from years ago from VFest, for example. How do you keep everybody working on the site and on the grounds on the same page and kind of sharing that same message?
Yeah, we have regular meetings. We have to have regular meetings. People will say communication is the key, really, to making sure it all happens. And things can change so quickly as well, like, the weather impacting events. Just generally, obviously we had COVID as well, and that was a real learning curve for everyone. So we have I have regular meetings with my team. I have regular meetings with the parks team, marketing team. They come sort of and work in our office sort of once a week. So I think we just keep talking to each other, just to make sure everyone knows what is going on, because there is a lot.
I think I'd love to learn more about the weddings, right? Because I think it's obviously something that each year it gets bigger and bigger, the weddings industry, right? And I mean, I can't pull a figure out of my brain right now, but it's millions, if not billions, right, in the UK. And Highlands has, again, it has that prestige. I know of people that have got married there, and it's a beautiful location. But you mentioned that you're getting more and more these larger multicultural weddings, and you kind of adapted and you've developed and you've learnt along the way on how to kind of host those sorts of parties, those wedding sizes. What's been your experience? How long have you been doing the wedding scene?
So I've been in the industry for about 25 years. So I actually started in the Natural History Museum, where we did the odd wedding, believe it or not. But I know now they do a lot of weddings when I look at their website. So I've always done weddings in some capacity, and even when I've been at other venues, we have had like multicultural weddings as well. So I guess I've always had some experience of it. With Hylands, like I said, they used to hold sort of like 80 people. And then in 2012, they built the pavilions and they could do 300 people. So they didn't kind of set out to become a multicultural sort of like wedding venue, but the clients sort of found Hylands, which was great. But the team had to learn sort of like very quickly, like I say, how to learn the different traditions and customs of those weddings as well. But it's great because like one day you could have like an African Caribbean wedding, then you have a Greek wedding. It might be sort of like a Jewish wedding, then there's an Asian wedding. So like every day could be completely different. I think that's what the team like as well, because they are so different.
And do you see, is that a representation of how Essex is changing, or are more people travelling outside to find amazing locations like Hylands House?
Yeah.
How's that dynamic?
I think more people are travelling to maybe get the kind of the venue that they want. I mean, a lot of our clients come from London because we're really like straight up the A12, very easy to get to. Lots of car parking, which is important to people. But yeah, our brides come from sort of all over the UK, but I'd say mainly London probably at the moment.
That's a big testament, right, to Hylands House. And you said there that the clients are finding you. I mean, that's every business's dream, right?
Yeah.
That the clients are finding you, you're not having to go find them. What are the sorts of things? How have they found you? Is it through word of mouth? Is it through social? How do people?
I mean, I've been there for about 4 years. So when they started doing all the multicultural weddings, I think, like I say, it wasn't a particular type of wedding they advertised to. So it was probably the capacity. When you've just got to look at the house, you've immediately got that wow factor. So I think probably like photography is one of the big sort of pluses for us. And I think whether it's like inside or outside, you've still got those amazing photo opportunities. So obviously you've got all the parkland, you've got beautiful landscape gardens. And then inside you've got beautiful staircases, really ornate rooms. So it's the best of both worlds, really. So I think a lot of our brides, they're not just looking for like a hotel that can do their capacity. So I think maybe that's what a lot of the brides used to maybe look for. It's more like, can you do the numbers? Whereas now we've got the charm of a really old house and we can do the bigger numbers. So I think maybe that's why they've kind of like found us.
Yeah. And when you get, I guess, a big cohort of people coming from out of county, out of town to Highlands, and they have that good experience, are you getting repeat wedding business from those same groups? And interestingly, are they coming back to the house for other things? Do they migrate into perhaps the stables piece, or not necessarily perhaps popping back for the coffee shop or anything like that? But do they come to some of the bigger events or anything? How does that?
Yeah.
How's that change helped?
We do hear quite often like, my cousin got married here, or my cousin's friend got married here. So we know, again, word of mouth absolutely works. Even like you say, going back to our artists, maybe not afterwards, but before, some of our artists actually can offer sort of a wedding service. For example, we've got Tanya who can actually run a workshop to make your own wedding rings. Wow. Like, how lovely is that? We've got Vanessa who makes wedding hats and fascinators. A lot of our artists can make sort of personalised favours. So you've got that really nice tie-in as well. I think some people, they do actually come back for like for photo shoots as well. So say, for example, they've just booked Hylands. People sometimes come and have an engagement shoot before the wedding, and then they're using the coffee shop, etc. So they've kind of got that tie-in as well. So yeah.
It's that really lovely kind of connection, isn't it? Where you mentioned the artists that you have, your on-site artists at the stables. I wonder how much of it is, have they, obviously they're artists in their own right, and like you said, that mentioned the one lady who designs wedding rings. She obviously has always been a jewelry designer, I'd imagine, making jewelry.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's as a result of the wedding scene growing at Hylands that she thought, oh, this could quite work, and then has partnered with you and the teams at Hylands House to make sure, you know, that can be offered as a service. Or is it kind of, how does that kind of come out organically?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly her thoughts behind starting it, but what we also do now, we have like wedding showcases, and we invite our artists to actually have like a stand at our wedding showcases. And I know from the recent one we had, a lot of the brides were really interested in making their own wedding rings. And also they do a workshop where you can have, just with your bridesmaids, you can make own bracelets as well, like which are personalised for your bridesmaids. So it's a really nice sort of tie-in. And obviously we want to help promote our artists' businesses as well as our own, because, you know, we want them to be successful.
And talking about the artists, then how do you select those? Because you say that they are kind of resident artists with Hylands. How do those partnerships come about?
So we're quite lucky. We don't have studios become free very often. So generally when some of the artists are with us, they're with us for quite a long time. They really like the artist community. They're really supportive of each other. We also try and help them like with marketing as well. So we promote their workshops, etc. So again, we very much see them as part of Hylands. Choosing again who comes in, like I say, it doesn't happen very often. We do actually have a studio available at the moment if anyone is interested, but it's having somebody that actually whatever they do, that they actually make and create themselves. So you know, we're looking for people that make things on site. We have a hashtag which is made at Hylands. So we also want to make sure that they don't clash with any artists that we already have on site as well. So we also look at their products, as we want to make sure we have a variety of products and make sure they don't clash with anyone else.
But it sounds like it's a fantastic opportunity for someone, given the captive audience you've got of, like you've just described, the wedding scene and the hundreds of people, or the hundreds of weddings that you get where people can supply rings or favours and things like that. What else is going on at Hylands that offers that same kind of sense of community or opportunity for things like artists, or that, I guess, that cross-pollination of products and things?
Yes, yeah. So I don't know if you know, we have our Open Estate Day, which is once a month, second Sunday of every month. And we have just partnered with the Essex Foodies Market, which were previously Writtle Foodies Market. And it's great because they've brought along a lot of local suppliers, which we haven't had before. So again, it's kind of us supporting like local suppliers. And a lot of them are kind of artists in their own right. When you see some of the food that they create, it's fantastic. So, we want to work with sort of more local businesses. And inside Open Estate Day, we try and work with sort of maybe the local museum. So recently they had something, they had people like dressed up, they had brought some of their products, some of the articles from the museum. We work with the local forest school, so they will come in and do an activity. And even our local sports centres, they will come along in the summer and run activities outside on our lawns on the same day. And all those activities are free as well, which is important. So again, it's the one day a month we actually open our doors for the local community to come in and have a look. We offer free storytelling for children, free arts activities for children. So it's kind of trying to get the next generation to come in, have a look at Hylands, see what it's all about, and hopefully support us in the future.
And we touched on weddings, but there's obviously so much more. We're quite well known for weddings. Does that cause as many problems for us as much as it is positive, because people, it's just wedding venue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a lot of us, but there's a hell of a lot more from what you're saying.
Yes.
So how do we work hard to be a weddings venue, but also work hard to not be a wedding venue?
Yeah, I think it's trying to get out there sort of in the community, saying, you can visit Hylands. Obviously, we understand we're not open every day of the week because we do sort of run events. Obviously, that helps to pay for the house, being there. It's a historic house that, old houses, they cost a lot of money to run. So that money helps go back into the house and keep it looking like it, as good as it is. But it's the one day a month where we say, come along, have a look. We have an historic exhibition as well, so people can come and see the history of Hylands. I know a lot of people remember it when it was like boarded up, nearly falling down. Obviously had a fire. It was literally like, it was ready to fall down. And it's invited people to say, come and have a look now, like see how amazing it looks, and just come and enjoy the free activities for the day.
That kind of history that you've just mentioned there, it's pretty impressive that it's still standing. And it's, I didn't even realise that it had been boarded up and that there was a fire there. I think you've already said that it's kind of founded around 1730s. And obviously since then, it's probably had a very varied history. I imagine it would have been a family house at some point, and then at some point it would have passed over onto the Chelmsford City Council. When it did come under Chelmsford City Council, has it always been like an events entertainment venue? What's the history there?
So when the Chelmsford City Council, well, it was the Borough Council then, when they purchased it, they actually didn't know what to do with it. They reopened the park for the public because Mrs. Hanbury, who was the last private owner, she'd always allowed the public to wander through the park, which was lovely. So the first thing they did was reopen the park. And then it was like, what do they do? So there was plans, I think, to make it into a golf club, a residential home, pull it down and just have like the white facade there, which just thinks crazy when you think about it now. But luckily, there was councillors who voted to actually like keep it sort of standing, have it restored. The Friends of Hylands House charity was formed. So obviously they raised money, and there was a national sort of lottery grant as well, which helped restore it. So it's taken many years. I think it was about period of 20 years from when it looked like it was going to fall down from actually how it looks now. So it was a long time.
So it's had quite a checkered past, but it is still standing.
Yes.
It's still functioning. It's the beautiful venue that it is. What's the last sort of couple of years brought? How has it really evolved on beyond the weddings? Because obviously there's things like Go Ape there now.
Yes, yeah. So Go Ape have been with us just over a year. They're at the Rithel end of the park, and that's been great, obviously, for the members of the public. So I don't think there's one actually in this area. But also for us, we've been able to launch corporate sort of like away day packages. So we have people come along, have a meeting at the house, have a bit of lunch, go over, try sort of Go Ape, like swinging through the trees. But also like if people aren't into sort of climbing trees, they've brought with them lots of like activity games that you can do actually standing just on the floor as well. So so we've been able to create that. So again, that's another market for us as well.
And you mentioned the country music festival and everything as well. So
yes.
I guess some people bring their events to you, which is great, and some you create your own as you've explained. But it feels like there's a lot more relevant things going on, and that there's a bit more of a modern take on it. Obviously, the Hylands House with its history, it's a nice merge and nice blend. But Go Ape, the corporate packages, the country shows, and everything. What else is kind of the way you've done your research, you've tuned into the market? What else is kind of going on along those kind of lines?
Yes. So we've got brand new events called Holistic Hylands that I'd love to say tickets are available, but they've actually all sold out already. But I think wellbeing is a really big topic at the moment, sort of health, wellbeing, sort of mental health. And it's something that a member of my team feels quite passionately about. And we definitely felt there was a market there. So we've designed a brand new event, sort of like yoga, Pilates, sound bath, to actually sort of tap into that market. And it's our first event in March, but hopefully, it will go well, and we're looking to do much more, because there's obviously, so the tickets sold out very quickly, so there obviously is a market for those types of events as well.
I think it's a great example of being able to draw a straight line between what you said earlier, say, reiterate the fact that you researched it, you've spoken to suppliers, you've spoken to locals at large, whether it be the community or the team, as you said in that instance, to really tune into what people want now. Because I think there's a real danger, I guess, when you have an asset like Hylands House, that you stay perhaps too traditional. I think even it's a great example of gone from what we might say is the 80-person wedding and things, to offering such diversity to the African Caribbean type weddings and things like that. I think it's a really good story to be able to say we've listened to what the market wants, we've adapted, and we've been willing to go through that change. Yeah. When I think actually a lot of people that would own an asset like that might just go, no, actually we stick to our authentic heritage.
We always ask for feedback, whether it's our open estate day, on all our events. We send out surveys, whether it's like private client, corporate, we always ask for feedback, because we always want to improve. Like, I think if you sit still and you say, oh, that's always worked, that's great, but things change all the time. So I think myself, my whole team, we're quite forward thinking, always thinking, right, how can we improve this? Like, what is next? And you've got to be like that, otherwise you get left behind.
We've kind of gone full circle, because we started with the question of what is marketing for you, and you mentioned that when you first started in your career, it was a lot of print, and now we are looking at AI and social media and the trends, and so it is keeping up to date, it's keeping moving forward, which gives Hylands House that longevity, right? And long may it live, because it is such a beautiful venue. You've already mentioned a few events upcoming, but just to kind of round off the conversation, where can our listeners find you guys, be it actual location or also online, and then what sort of other events can they sign up? Unfortunately, not the holistic.
No,
not that one.
Not this time. If you go to our website, hylandsestate.co.uk, all the information is on there about all our events. I say there's a lot of public events coming up. You've got All About Dogs sort of in April. You've got National Flower Show in May. You've got a massive foodies festival, the Country Calling New Music Festival that's in August. So lots going on there. Our next open estate day, which, like I said, is free activities in the house. That is the second Sunday of every month. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and check out our website.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. It was really lovely chatting with you and learning more about Hylands House.
Oh, thank you.
You've been listening to the Get Better in Chelmsford podcast with your hosts, Richard Brinkley and Tasha Katz. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, you can tune in to the full series wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening.